Hello everybody, a very good afternoon. It's Paris-Nice. Stage 4, the sun is shining, it's a mountain day. Kwiatkoswki, and this is where we head today. It's a big one, it is the big uphill finish. It's plus 200 kilometers today. And of course they started out in the fag, into the sun. 5 third category climbs, 2 second category climbs. And after a sprint in Saint-Chamond, it's up to Kwiatkoswki, 10 kilometers at 6.7%. Well, the day previous was a big day for Michael Mathews. A first yellow jersey on Paris-Nice for him. Only 4 days of competition. He was up there in the sprint, led out nicely by his Orica Green Edge teammates. Hammered home, beating some very, very big sprinters. John Dencolby, we thought might be up there, left behind in around 6th position in the end. Michael Mathews winning on just his 4th day of competition this season. So Michael Mathews with a win and the yellow jersey. Here we are live, 57.6 kilometers to go, 4 minutes and 45 for a breakaway that went in the first 10 kilometers or so. 3 riders had almost 5 minutes after 15 kilometers. They then went on to have around 8 minutes maximum. Those riders, let's get to it straight away. They are Antoine Duchesne, 23-year-old from Quebec in Canada. He rides for Europcar. Alongside him, Thomas de Gent, 28 years of age, the Belgian. The man Mr. Stelvio of the Giro 2012. And of course Chris Anker Sorensen, his biggest moment also came in the Giro d'Italia back in 2010 when he won on Monte Terminillo. 30 years of age now, and he is out there picking up the points for the polka dot jersey. No Philippe Gilbert in the break, as we thought might happen again. Of course he is looking to try and pick up that King of the Mountains jersey. Tom de Gent, Philippe Gilbert losing out that jersey to him as it stands on the road. 4:45 then today, Michael Mathews in yellow. Today, Sean Kelly, 7 times winner of Paris-Nice. The race really does change.
Yes, well, it's totally going to change today. We're going to see the real picture, who's capable of winning this Paris-Nice, because of this 10-kilometer climb to the finish today. It is going to give us an indication of the riders who are in form, who's capable of winning. And we haven't had any real indication whatsoever in this race, because it's been easy going the first 3 flat stages. So, you know, no major racing done at all. So this is going to be the real test, and this climb to Chauberey will be the test. It's a long climb. Gradient not majorly steep, but if they race it aggressively, it will cause a lot of problems.
Yeah, it's the sort of climb that when you get to it, it's fairly constant, the gradient. We're talking 5, 6, 7%, nothing more, nothing less really. Perhaps there's a couple of short, steep parts where you get up to 10%. Nothing silly though, but it's early season. We have a lot of people interested, and with so many strong teams, when you look at Astana, they've got 3 or 4 people who could be up there today. Sky, 4 or 5 riders who could be up there today. And of course, looking to BMC as well, with Van Garderen, Rohan Dennis and the like. Agir Dessert with Jean-Christophe Perrault and Romain Bardet. A lot of teams who want to do something here, and surely 1 or 2 of those teams are going to use their resources to make it a really hard race for Michael Mathews to hang on to yellow.
Well, you would expect a really aggressive race today, because, you know, they have raced relatively easy, as I say. A lot of riders, you know, are still feeling really good in this race. And when we get into the final, we come through the town of Saint-Chamond. 16 kilometers to go. A bit technical in the town. It's going to be, you know, a pretty dangerous run through there, and they're going to be really going for it, because a mountaintop finish, the first mountain really of this tour of any great importance, and it's going to be fast racing there. So this climb, and not majorly steep, but in the beginning it does kick up quite strong. The steepest part, I think, is in the first 2 kilometers, and then it eases off a bit. It does get a bit difficult further up the climb, but if they really race aggressively onto it, I think the first 2 kilometers, that's where we'll see the damage being done.
Well, there's damage been done in the breakaway already. There's Andre Greipel back in the peloton, who won on stage 2 it was now. Michael Mathews winning yesterday, 2010 and under 23 world champion, the 24-year-old. Not one for Andre Greipel today, of course. Neither for Heinrich Hauscher on the left-hand side there, who wasn't involved as we thought he might be yesterday. Arnaud Demar riding at the front of the peloton at the minute. And Orica Green Edge on the right-hand side in those white jerseys have the man in the yellow jersey. Just 4 days with a number on his back this year for Michael Mathews. Each time he's finished in the top 10. It's been a remarkable start to the season when you look at that for Michael Mathews.
It's been a brilliant start when you consider, you know, the racing, the little racing he has done against the riders who have, you know, so much racing done. Yesterday's stage with that uphill finish, you have to be good to get up there, and you know, he won magnificently, but his team did a fabulous job. The lead out, you could not just ask for anything better. He was taken to the last 150 metres, 170 metres, and then he just had to kick, and away he went and won comfortably. The interesting one today, a lot of people saying Mathews can hang on. Will he hang on? Maybe not. So it's going to be an interesting one. If he's in real good shape, which we've seen last year in the Giro, he can do it, but I'm not sure if he at that level yet. Although winning yesterday, you know, he looked very good, but today is a much bigger test.
A lot of it was about the lead out yesterday. A few of our colleagues saying, well, in the few years that Orica Green Edge have been together, that's probably the best lead out they've ever done. Is that something you'd agree with?
Yes, definitely. We see the way they just took him to the, you know, up that little kick up before the final corner with around 200 metres to go. They took him to that point where, you know, he had two teammates in front of him all the time. So, you know, when he took up the front, well then, you know, he had just to put in a good sprint. But you have to be able to stay there as well. Having a team is one thing, but you have to be good. You know, if you haven't got the good legs, well then it's going to be difficult to follow your team. And, you know, he showed yesterday that he was really strong in the end.
4 summits to cross so far still today. Tom de Gendt is at the front in the red there, the Belgian rider just behind him, the unique style of Kwiatkoswki Sorensen, elbows and knees all out to the side. He's in the fluorescent yellow, the Dane. And behind him, Antoine Duchesne, who's the least well-known of these 3 riders, but he's the best placed of the 3 on general classification at 1 minute and 35. This is La Côte de la Gironde. 4 minutes and 35 is the gap. Duchesne just struggling to hang on at the back there, 23 years of age from Quebec. 3rd in the Canadian Championships last year. A former national junior time trial champion. And it's his 2nd year at Europcar. There is Michael Mathews' team, Orica Green Edge. Mathews at the back of a 7-man train there. Long-sleeved yellow jersey for him today. It was a cool day at the start this morning, Sean. Loads of fog about, but it's cleared up into what is probably the brightest day of the week so far.
Yes, beautiful day once again. When the fog did burn off this morning, it's been perfect conditions. Although here at the finish it is, you know, still quite cold, but a nice sunshine. And of course, when you're racing up at giving it 100%, you're not going to feel any of the little bit of coldness here. And
he's not certainly feeling the cold at the minute. You've got Antoine Duchesne out there in short sleeves, but he's being left behind by Tom de Gendt and Kwiatkoswki Sorensen at the moment. De Gendt in the red, just pulling away. Sorensen behind him. That diesel engine that he is just keeps on going at the same pace. Very much as he did when he was winning. The last time he won, in fact, on the Giro d'Italia, 2010, stage at Monte Terminillo. It's a mountain that Tirreno Adriatico will visit this week, by the way, and another race you can join Declan Quigley and Matt Stevens for on Eurosport all week. 2010 since his last victory. Also on a stage of the Dauphiné did Kwiatkoswki Sorensen back in 2008. That was to La Toussuire, stage 7 that year. Oldest of the 3 in the break. 52.8 k's to go, nearing the top of this 2nd category climb. 3 climbs remain after this. We've got another 2nd category climb, and the 3rd cat, and up to the Croix de Chaubrey at the end. Col de la Gâchée next up, and Côte de la Croix Blanche before that. Beautiful, beautiful countryside. And another thing, this morning you and I were noting that the countryside really does change once you get towards Saint-Etienne, the city right at the base of this climb. And what's been flat ever since Paris really is suddenly get the rise of the land.
Yes, well, it is during this stage, it's, you know, total change of terrain which we had in the first 3 days. We had a lot of that flat country. Today you could see on the way down here it's much more undulating, and you know they're having a lot of that all day, and it's going to be a bit of a shock to the system. Being on the flat for 3 days, to adjust, you know, to this sort of terrain, it is difficult, and the final mountain of the day at 10 kilometre one, that's where it's going to cause lots of problems, and we will see guaranteed some of the riders who were expecting for general classification, if they race on the final climb, we will see some riders starting having difficulty.
Potential for absolute chaos out there today as Tom de Gendt still leads Chris Sorensen up to the top of this next climb. De Gendt obviously going for the man in his jersey here. He's been out there since the front. He's taken up pretty much all of the maximum points so far. Côte de la Gimont tops out with 52 kilometres to go, just around this corner. Again, one of 3 signings made by Lotto during the winter. 7 pro wins for him, the last in the 2013 Volta Catalunya. 1 Paris-Nice stage win to his win as well, to his name, pardon me, as well. 2011 stage 1. So they're going to fight for it. Chris Sorensen trying to go round to the line. Looks as though De Gendt, who still gets it then, and not particularly happy because De Gendt had done all the work on the way up there.
Yes, not happy at all, and he almost got him by surprise. And now De Gendt is going to make him pay for this little bit of a smart move. I think De Gendt was expecting, I think they should have probably were in agreement. He was doing all the riding on the front, Sorensen sitting on, but just tried to sneak over him there in the last 5 metres.
Naughty, naughty, Chris Sorensen. In the meantime, the rest of the peloton going through La Gimont. Lots of little picturesque villages around this part of the world. Saint-Etienne and Lyon, the cities nearby. Wonderful view from up here over towards the Alps as well today. Sky, as you might expect, are going to be working hard today for Richie Porte. Or will it be Richie Porte? And that's the trouble for the other teams with this Sky team here, because they've got so many options. They've got the likes of Nicholas Roach. They have as well Geraint Thomas here, and we're seeing Hutarovic going back to the cars. In the meantime, Rui Costa being brought back alongside Rafa Valls. It looks as though Rafa Valls has hit the floor there.
Yes.
Problem for Rafa Valls. Alongside, actually no, that's Mario Costa. Rui Costa's brother at the back there. So Mario Costa it is, pardon me, who has hit the ground. It's not going well in the Costa family this week, is it? Because we had 2 falls in 2 days from Rui Costa. Mario Costa has obviously been in a rather muddy area. Little look at his backside there, number 15. And it's not looking great for him as Dan McLay starts to lose touch with the back of the peloton. And if riders are already losing touch here, Sean, it's going to be a real hard job 3 climbs down the line, isn't it?
Yes, although we can see the Lampre riders here, Lampre Merida, Rui Costa, you know, on the way back. The other Costa brother, I don't think it's for him they're waiting. He seemed to be after falling, but was it at this moment or was it early in the day? But you know, Rui Costa is the man who the Lampre team will be looking after today. Last year, a podium finisher in this race, so you know today is the day where we can see him, you know, being in the thick of the action.
Oh, we saw Rui Costa there. We were lucky enough to catch up with the new director sportif in Lampre colours this year, Philippe Mauduit, who's moved over. Bit of a surprising move for a lot of people that over in the winter. And the French Lampre Merida sports director was talking to us about Rui Costa, about the team earlier on this week. We asked him about the goals of the team. We asked him about Rui Costa, and here he is.
L'objectif sur une course de début de saison comme ça, c'est toujours un peu difficile parce que.
Oh, it's always hard to have precise goals at the start of the season because our riders didn't have many days of riding. We've got most of our roster here that we rode the Tour of Qatar, Oman, and well, Oman just some of them with. So we're waiting to see. But in Oman, we saw that the team was pretty good. The riders were ready. So the ambition is to do as best as possible, which is what we did last year, a 3rd place overall with Rui Costa. And if we can do the same, it'll be good.
Alors Rui Costa, dans quel état de forme il est?
Eh bien,
How is Rui
il est
Costa?
arrivé à Oman donc pour sa première compétition.
Well, he finished sixth during the Queen Stage in Oman, 49 seconds behind the winner, and that was his first race of the season, and it was a good performance. Then he was a domestique, though, in the role of Rafa Valls, who was the leader. That means he needed to work a lot for Valls, and I think he's ready for Paris-Nice after that hard work. Well, I've been talking to Philippe Maudoui. Attack from Rowan Dennis, pardon me. Rowan Dennis wearing the white jersey there. In fact, it's Philippe Gilbert, pardon me, I was going to say. Rowan Dennis was wearing the white jersey until yesterday. It's Philippe Gilbert, pardon me, just cleaning up the points there. 4 minutes and 15. Gilbert in the polka dot jersey until the moment. As it stands, though, that jersey is going to be on the back of Tom de Gendt at the end of the day. Still Orica Greenedge working hard, as we saw a little bit of an acceleration from Sky on the climb, just to test the legs of everybody. I think we can see already what their tactic is going to be today. They've immediately gone away from the front, trying to put those legs that have been fresh so far, pretty sore early on, and just soften everybody up before the climb. Richie Port, Nicholas Roach, Geraint Thomas. Brad Wiggins is here. Christian Knees has been doing a lot of the work. And there is Michael Mathews. Giro and Tour de France on the menu for him at the moment. First year of his career where he hasn't raced the Australian races. Different preparation for him. Has hardly been home to Australia, in fact. He's been down in Monaco, where he lives, doing a lot of the prep and the work. Victory on Stage 3 yesterday was Michael Mathews' 18th professional win. Tom de Gendt, Chris Anker Sorensen and Antoine Duchesne, with Gilbert and Cher picking up the rest of the points off that second category Côte de la Gimont. 4 minutes and 20 with 49 kilometers to go. Already we've seen riders coming off the back. Already we've seen Mario Costa hit the deck. Big day this for Paris-Nice. Big day for everybody out here. It's a beautiful day. There's lots of fans waiting for the arrival of this race. And William Bonnet in trouble as well at the back. Beautiful sunny day. Stage 4, Paris-Nice on the way to Kwiatkoswki. Antoine Duchesne has been dropped by his companions in the breakaway, so only Chris Anker Sorensen and Thomas de Gendt are out there on their own. 1 minute and 20 between those two groups. Duchesne drifting back to the peloton that is 4 minutes and 10 back. And since you've been away, we've had action up the front. AG264 Mondial have had a really difficult week with that positive for Lloyd Mondori, but they're working hard here at the front to put on the pressure as we go through Fontanet. Or Fontaine, pardon me, I should say. Jan van Summeren at the front. We've seen Dumoulin out there as well. Really interesting day today, Sean, to see what state of form Jean-Christophe Perraud's in.
Yes, it's going to be a test for him. He hasn't, done a lot this season yet, and he did say at the start of Paris-Nice he's not at his best, but he was hoping to get a couple of days in the race, and what better days could he get in the windy
club ride so far,
the windy conditions, risk of echelons and that, which he doesn't like at all. Not to be seen in this race, so he's got the perfect run in for the 3 days since the prologue, and I think it will help a lot. Maybe he will be in real good shape here. When you look at the start of this race, you'd say, well, he's not going to be in the real fight for the overall classification or a major place in the top 5, but the way the race have been now, you have to include him, and AG2R seems to be pushing on here. They also have Bardet, of course, which we cannot forget. He's going to be hopefully up there as well.
Rafael Maika has obviously had some sort of mechanical problem, and Michael Valgren is helping him back towards the peloton there. There's Zico Whitens as well. rider in the black jersey for Giant Alpecin. And the pace is really up here. Agility à la Mondiale. It's been a faster day anyway since the start, even in what was again quite a relatively calm first hour or so. It was in the high 30s rather than the mid 30s, the pace. As you see, Chris Anker Sorensen in there, meaning that Tinkoff Saxo do not have to do any work today, and they can save their resources trying to put Rafał Majka into a good position at the end of the day. He's another man who we're going to have to watch form-wise, aren't we, Sean? We haven't seen too much of him, but if he were at his best, you'd have to say he'd be one of the big favourites to take the stage win today.
Yes, certainly. And there's a lot of unknown out there at the moment, not only for ourselves, for the riders and the team managers. You know, we did hear you know, some of the interviews saying, well, you know, they haven't raced a lot, they haven't had any sort of a climb like this, a 10-kilometre climb at the end of a race. It is a serious one in the beginning of season, certainly, and you know, the riders, they haven't had a real test at any point this year, so there's a lot of uncertainty, I think, within the teams and the riders. So it's just wait and see, and we will definitely see it on this one today.
A couple of little gruppetti starting to form at the back as well. As you can see, Arnaud Demar is being distanced. Moreno Hofland is on his wheel. They might have a chance to have a chat on the way in to try and make the time limit later on today. There is Jan van Sommer at the front. On the right-hand side, you've got the Cannondale Garmin team, and if they haven't had a true sprinter, they certainly got men for the day. Andrew Talansky, and as you saw last year, he both loves and hates racing on French roads. He had a real mixed bag, didn't he?
Yes, he did have a mixed bag last year, but you know, I think he's back. Definitely the big morale for this one, and to do something. This is his style of race, so you know, he should be definitely up there today. Tom Yellis-Slachter also 2 stage wins last year. How well is he going? Because this sort of finish as well will suit him. So within Cannondale Garmin, they have riders who are, you know, capable of doing something here today.
Arnaud Demar and Moreno Hofland behind the peloton that is really increasing in pace all the time, and you can see the results of that there. 3 minutes 35 as one spectator is being entertained. There are plenty of spectators here at the top, given the fact that it's a Thursday afternoon. It's a working day. We're up a mountain. We saw quite a few riders coming up, a few retired riders coming up early this morning, enjoying the climb. A few people on holiday as well, as the breakaway is getting a talking to. Chris Anker Sorensen there. He's in the yellow. The man in front in the red, Tom de Gent. 8 minutes maximum they had, 3:35 at the moment. No wind on this climb either today. It's a faster day, and it's a day when Paris-Nice really does come to life. Off to Kwiatkoswki today. Kwiatkoswki, important piece of cycling history occurred here. Think back to Charles Gaulle, the Luxembourgeois climber, the 1950s. In the end, they called him the Angel of the Mountains, the Angel of the Rain, the Archangel. His name seemed to change depending on which race he was being referred to as. We see Brad Wiggins at the back of the peloton as well. But Charles Gaulle had one of his first big wins here, 1954, in a race called the Circuit des Six Provinces, the Circuit of the Six Provinces. And it was the Luxembourg climber that was 21 back then. Got to the bottom of the climb with 2-minute gap with a few of his fellow escapees from a break. Went on to win L'Equipe with a big headline the morning after. Only Charles Gaulle didn't suffer on the way up to the Kwiatkoswki. That was a couple of years before his big Monte Bondone exploits at the Giro d'Italia, underneath the snow, of course, in 1956. And then in the Chartreuse, up against the ice. And the problems up there when he went on to win the Tour in 1958. So Kwiatkoswki linked to the career of the famous and the great Charles Gaulle back in the 1950s. Tinkoff Saxo now at the front. Michael Valgren, in fact, trying to get back after a little split here. There's Mario Costa again towards the back. So things really waking up, and Brad Wiggins caught up in this second group as well here, Sean.
Yes, it looks like it's the second group. Yes, so a split there, and not surprised the way it's been going the last 10 plus kilometres. A lot of teams taking it up. We did see AG2R Le Mondial. We did see Cannondale Garmin before that. Now it's Ulrika Greenedge who are pushing on. So, you know, a lot of new teams just upping the pace all the time, and for that reason, a lot of riders blowing out the rear door, and the split in the peloton as well. We can see there a group with Wigo, a big group of riders in this split behind.
And Rafał Majka being caught up means that Tinkoff Saxo have all hands to the pump, trying to do the work to get these guys back on, and this wasn't in the plan really for Tinkoff Saxo today.
Well, I would not think so. They would not be hoping to see a situation or be in a situation like this. But again, you know, you could see it coming as a rider. You can see that from a long ways out. A lot of teams getting on the front. If you're in good shape, you have to be in the top 30 riders here, and not to be in the situation that Majka and Tinkoff Saxo are in, where you have to start chasing. I think, you know, Majka maybe not in the best of shape, or just was he caught a bit off his guard.
It's a fair distance, isn't it? Michael Valgren, and of course, when I say it's not in the plan, it's not in the plan to use up all these forces to get him back on, because he needs his guys and his team in the mountain.
Well, yes, preference, yeah, you would just follow this race, and for Majka and the teammates, you know, he just would follow the race, keep his teammates. If he needed, you know, something in the final, well, he would need them there. But now when they have to do this chase with over 40 kilometers to go, this is going to, you know, take a lot of his teammates out of the equation to get onto the final climb.
That is the back of the peloton, first peloton that is, as Antoine Duchesne is about to be reeled in. And the real pace spinning put on at the front is now by Ulrika Greenedge, defending the yellow jersey. Michael Mathews said that he wanted to defend the yellow jersey with honour today. And of course, it's a big day in Australian cycling, isn't it? Because it's the birthday of Phil Anderson today. 57 years of age. Cast your minds back all the way back to 1981, I think it was, Sean. Was it Mandelieu won that stage in and then became the first Australian leader of the Tour de France?
Yes, 81. It was the finish into Mandelieu. You climbed the Tanneron climb, a very fast, dangerous ascent into Mandelieu, and it was on the race routes for many years.
Dominic Ent and Chris Anker Sorensen at the front. 40 kilometres to go on Pyrenees Stage 4. Azure Desert, Cannondale Garmin and Ulrika Greenedge taking it in turns to really put the pace on here. Certainly now they'll know that Tinkoff Saxo behind and struggling, and they'll want to put Rafał Majka out of the game.
Yes, well, I don't think they'll be really thinking of Majka. It's just all about just keeping the pace real high, and we can see the teams who are doing that. They have got riders, you know, for this sort of finish today, and they want to keep the pace real high. That way you keep your man for the stage finish here and for the overall classification. Keep them up in front, and we can see the reason. These roads, you know, very undulating, up and down a lot, so you have to, you know, keep on setting a strong pace to stay to the front.
Alexander Kristoff caught up in that other group as well, the green jersey wearer for today. Second in that competition with Michael Mathews, also first in the points competition too. Demar, Degenkolb, Hofland, we've seen Hutarovic, who was distanced early on. Not guys who are going to be involved at the end of the day, but it's very, very early to be off the back of the peloton still. 2 minutes 40. De Gent at the front, Chris Anker Sorensen behind. Azure Desert at the front of the peloton, Johan van Summeren. Yellow jersey of Michael Mathews in there. Michael Mathews in his first race of the year. Lotto Soudal working towards the second peloton. Andre Greipel is in this group. They'll be hoping that Tim Wellens is still up in the first group. We await confirmation of the entire composition of that final group. Beautiful spring image from the centre southeast of France. 2 minutes 40. Second group on your screen now. Rafael Micah in there, as we've seen. Otto Sudal doing some work with Greipel in third wheel there. Azure Dessert, the front of the main peloton, the peloton of the yellow jersey, who is Michael Mathews. Mathews' aim at the minute to get to the climb and to see what he can do. We saw what he could do last year at Monte Cassino and the Giro d'Italia. I'm also being told, thanks to Scott Oro, that it's Nathan Haas' birthday as well. So a very happy birthday to him too in the pro peloton. 37 Ks to go here on Paris-Nice. You're watching Paris-Nice on Eurosport Cycling. Stage 4 today, mountain stage, 35 kilometers to go, and 2 minutes and 20 is the difference between two riders out there in the break. Tom de Gent and Chris Anger Sorensen, and a peloton that is led by AG Desert La Mondiale at the minute. We had riders off the back. It looks as though while we've been away that everybody is back on. Just about. Very stretched out. It is a very long group. Descending at the moment. A couple more climbs to come before the final climb. AG Desert La Mondiale at the front of the peloton. Once you've been away, the two groups have been all back together again, but it's very long, very stretched out, and really, really quick at the minute. The gap at 2 minutes and 20, Sean.
Yes, well, it is coming down rapidly, and not surprising because we have a lot of teams coming to the forward of the peloton and keeping the pace real high, if not upping the pace. AG2R La Mondiale, we can see they're the ones who are pushing on, and of course AG2R La Mondiale from this area, Grenoble, they know the roads well. We see Samuel Dumoulin, the smallest man maybe on the peloton, pushing on big time here, and then the big tall rider, the Belgian rider Johan van Summeren, both of them on the front. As we can see here, Dumoulin leads with van Summeren in his wheel, and they are going to cause a lot of problems. It's not going to be long until they kick up once again, and we will see more of the peloton being spat out.
Yeah, two really different size riders there, as you were pointing out to me a minute ago, Sean. You can see van Summeren, even though he's right on the wheel of Dumoulin, right behind him. It's almost like one rider with two bikes stuck together. Bizarre image. Here's Arnaud Demar and Brad Wiggins at the back of the peloton again. Once more in danger of getting distance, I think. 2 minutes and 15. You're talking about AG Desert, Sean, and the way that they know the roads. Do you think they've been talking to their former coéquipier, their former teammate Cyril Dessel, who won a stage on the Tour de France, I think it was to Jossière a few years ago. He's from this region, isn't he? And he's saying that it's really difficult roads around here. There is not a flat meter.
Yes, well, he was talking about the final, and he's from this area, and he said it's going to be real difficult. And we can see there just a short a moment ago back in the peloton. When it's going downhill, it's very, very technical, a lot of tight corners, and the rear end of the peloton, you only need somebody who is not a good descender. He starts leaving a bike length, 2 bike lengths, 4 bike lengths, and then there's a gap there. And if it does not split on the descent, it will definitely split. As we can see here, our two leaders, Sorensen and De Gent, is kicking up once again, and AG2R with Van Summeren keeping the pace real high. One line of riders practically, as we can see here, following, and it is going to hurt big time. Anybody is starting to suffer at this point, well, then it's not long until we see the elastic, as they say in cycling, breaking.
The elastic close to breaking. Sean, when you've been riding these first 3 days of Paris-Nice on the road proper, and the first 3 stages, as we see Costa, Wiggins and Demar really distanced now, and this is what you were talking about a minute ago. When you change from an easy rhythm, a lot of people thinking, okay, they've plenty of force in their legs, but It's that bit harder because you're not used to that strong rhythm. It's going to really make the legs sore today, isn't it? That brusque change.
Yes, and that's what we're exactly seeing here. You know, it's a terrain where you'd expect some of the riders, like a Bradley Wiggins, if he's not in real good shape, Demar, a lot of the riders, they should be able to hold on into the peloton, but just coming from the flat days of 3 days of racing, also it's a due to a bit of form. If you're not in a real good shape, this sort of terrain, the way they're pushing on at a high pace as well, you know, you're going to pay if you're not at your best.
You're going to pay if you're not at your best. A lot of riders paying already at the back, and with 3 climbs still to go, it's going to be hard work. Samuel Dumoulin and Johan van Summeren are going to be really tired today, as we see Perrault at the back there, just in front of the yellow jersey wearer, who is Michael Mathews. Yam cycling with riders towards the front as well. Sylvain Chavanel for them. And of course Matthias Frank perhaps today, as Johan Gen struggles at the back alongside Alexander Kristoff, who's having an afternoon snack. Stijn van den Berg, André Greipel. There's going to be some big names in the gruppetto today. Well, we've been talking about Arnaud Demar at the back, and we've also been talking to the Française des Jeux Sports director this week as well, Thierry Bricot. They're looking to see what Arthur Vichot can do, the former French champion, during this race.
Kwiatkoswki, c'est toujours une arrivée un peu particulière. C'est pas la première fois que Paris-Nice.
Well, the Kwiatkoswki, it's always a particular stage. It's not the first time that Paris is going there, but in the past we only really passed at the top of the finish the stages in Saint-Etienne. We're saying that it's a mounted pass, but it's a long hill for me. It's really the first big effort for the riders. We've done a recon this winter under the snow. This time there'll probably be some snow on the side of the road, but the weather will be good, I think. That stage will give us a first indication to know who's in good form or not, and we'll perhaps know the podium or the final winner of Paris-Nice. Will Arthur Vichot play a key role with the best climbers?
Well,
it's a hill for the climbers, but most of all it's a hill for strong riders at the start of the season. A bit like the Col d'Aise, where a strong man but necessarily not a pure climber will be at the top. There won't be any surprises, I don't think. And if Arthur had good legs, there's no reason that we won't see him with the best riders. You can say all that, Sean, but when you have teams like Sky, Astana, AG Desert, as we're seeing, BMC, who've got plenty of firepower and some big guys to finish it off, and we might see it be a little harder than everybody's expecting, because again, as we say so often, it's not just about the parkour, it's about how it's raced.
It's exactly it, how it's raced, and I think we're racing really aggressively at the moment, as we can see a rider there from is that?
Oh well, Tinkoff Saxo, and it's Rafał Majka. It is Rafał Majka who's in trouble. A bike change for him. He's already had to work hard to get back on after one earlier incident. Looks as though it must have been mechanical if he hasn't hit the deck. Certainly doesn't look like he's been on the floor. We had nothing on race radio either. Rafał Majka having to work hard, and I'm sure you're going to see if that radio is working properly. A couple of teammates drop back very quickly, and here we go. Time to get Rafał Majka back to the peloton. Again, pretty inopportune because we've got second category climb here, and we're just at the foothills of it. Not a good moment for Rafał Majka to have that problem, Sean.
No, not a good moment at all, considering he's only got back in the bunch, the main part of the bunch, you know, a number of kilometres further back the road here, and to have a mechanical at that point, it all depends why he found himself back in that split in the peloton. If it was that he was sitting too far off, well then, you know, he's probably feeling okay, but if he's suffering a bit, you know, this effort once again, well, you will pay for all of those later in the day.
Well, he's back in the cars. He has his teammate Paweł Polianski to help him out, Polish rider from Tinkoff Saxo. Rafał Majka enjoying French roads last year, struggling at the minute today. And look, peloton has already lost quite a few numbers. Still AG Desert there. 7 days ago exactly, AG Desert riders came to check out this stage, so it's fresh in their minds, and it's pretty obvious that they have a plan. Sky riders coming to the front. Astana with BMC having bodies there as well as the Orica Green Edge car is being used by those Tinkoff Saxo riders to get Rafał Majka back to the peloton. Well, they're going to get back on. How much is it going to take out, though, of Rafał Majka? Going to go past the medical car there, the white car on the right-hand side. Still Jans van Summeren and Samuel Dumoulin for the minute. Astana have been way down, but they're making an appearance now in those blue jerseys. I wonder how Fabio Aru is today. I mean, we see Michael Mathews come straight into competition and have an immediate impact. Fabio Aru to have the same one? Or for climbers, is it different, Sean?
Well, it can be the case. You know, we haven't seen Aru at all this week. He's never appeared on our screens at any point during our coverage, but that doesn't say he's not in good shape. An experienced rider, you just stay back in the peloton there, follow, and today is the day where, you know, Aru can do something. If he's feeling in the good shape, well, then he's that type of rider. He is, you know, very, very good rider to read the race. He can follow to the good moment, and we see him last year, Giro, Vuelta, mountaintop finishes, just followed, and the right opportunity, he just went about it and took it and won some magnificent stages on the mountaintop finishes.
Nasser Bouhanni has managed to hang on until now. He's being distanced alongside Ben King. Yuan Zhen also making his way back, as we see Bryan Coquard as well. Majka almost back in the peloton. We're on our way up to the Col de la Gâchette. 5 kilometers at 4.4%. We get a thumbs up from Bryan Coquard. Still Johan van Summeren at the front in that brown, white and blue jersey for AG de Zella Mondial, the French team. Nicholas Roach to the front. First time we've seen Sky since the top of the last climb. Nicholas Roach there with Geraint Thomas on his wheel. You had Richie Porte behind them, and Johan van Summeren has done a wonderful job today. 500 metres to the top for the breakaway. Chris Anker Sorensen in the yellow. Tom de Gent in the red. Lotto Soudal yet again with one of the classiest kit and bike combinations. Very, very retro. An interesting change to make for de Gent as well. Third team in as many years, really. Switched to rival Belgian teams from Quick Step. And this is Samuel Dumoulin. Those guys doing a great job today for AG de Zella, but running out of gas as we get to the top of this third to last climb today. I'm thinking of Van Summeren. Daylight today is really good prep for the classics as well, because he's running himself into the ground, isn't he? Getting some real form and fitness.
Yes, well, it's all good training here when you can ride like Van Summeren have been riding here with Dumoulin. You know, it proves that the shape is quite good, but when you do a ride like that, you know, for a long number of kilometers, which they have been doing, it does help your form. And you know, he is, for AG2R, he is going to be the man who is going to be for the classics.
Well, are we going to get big distances today? Over the top of the climb, Col de la Gâchette. De Gent and Sorensen, 1 minute and 40 as the work continues. Movistar at the front for the first time in a while, and it's Jose Joaquim Rojas on the left-hand side in the dark blue jersey. Lars Petter Nordhaug as well. Richie Porte right in the centre of your screen. Australian time trial champion at the minute. And Philippe Gilbert, who wants more of those points in the polka dot jersey as well, just to keep himself in contention for the rest of the week. And it's our daily sighting of Thomas Vauclair. Well, he's done a lot of work on days where other riders haven't so far this week, and for him it's a slow ride into the finish. Paul Jansky's job is done. Rafał Majka back at the back of the peloton. Jens Kupkelere that was as well for Orica Green Edge. Back at the front, they're on the descent. 1 minute and 30. With each new team that comes to the front, with each acceleration, that gap is going to come down as Gilbert takes the rest of the points. Philippe Gilbert just explaining what went on there. Actually, Dessert face is not too happy that he hadn't been doing the work with them, but I think that Gilbert just explaining, well, I just wanted the points for my Mountains jersey, that's all. Strung out again on the descent, 1-2-5, and we're losing riders all the time off the back. At the front, they attempt to soldier on. 2 climbs remain. Third category climb that's going to begin almost immediately. It's very short, just under 2 kilometers. Maximum gradient up at 4.9%. And then there's a descent towards Saint-Chamond. Intermediate sprint to come there as well, so sprint points available. An intermediate sprint that's going to remember the very, very sad death of Andrei Kivilev. Death on Paris-Nice, early part of the last decade, that actually made wearing a helmet obligatory, Sean.
Yes, it was the beginning of it when the governing body, made in all bike racing obligatory to wear helmet, and a very good decision, because we've seen, like in the past, so many crashes. The helmets are of great importance, and when you see in events, all the sportive events now, everybody just wears a helmet. In some countries it's law that you have to wear a helmet, and I think it should be made in all countries for bikers that is a law to you have to wear a helmet when you're biking.
Yes, certainly. I know that back in Spain, certainly the case. Law to wear the helmet. And again, it's something perhaps that should be extended to the rest of Europe at least. Sorensen motoring on 1 kilometer to the top of the next climb. After that descent down towards the Kivilev Memorial in Saint-Chamond. 2003 was the year that we sadly lost Andrei Kivilev in that awful crash. And today, intermediate sprint will honour his memory. BMC on the right-hand side. Working surely today for TJ van Garderen. What will Rowan Dennis be able to pull out on the climb? We saw him good enough uphill. In the Tour Down Under, to make sure that he won the race overall, ahead of Richie Port, who won on Willunga Hill that day. Eirik Hausler at the back. Still in the main group though. Arnaud Janasson is the rider in Française des Jeux colours, the 125 there. Adam Hansen, the Australian as well for Lotto Soudal. Good in the lead out the other day for Andre Greipel. On the left-hand side, Michael Mathews still riding at the front. It's been a good job so far by Orica Greenedge, Sean. Yes,
well, they've had a good day. We can see a lot of teams securing the pace in the front of the peloton. It's not only Orica Greenedge have to ride all the time after the breakaway originally of 3, now down to 2, of course. So when teams get involved like that, it does help the team of yellow jersey. You do not have to take all the workload and just continue to set a pace on the front of the bunch. So Michael Mathews still have some teammates around him here, and as we can see, this bunch has got very small because of the pace set by many teams, and there's a little bit of a slowdown here at the moment. We can see, the pace is not...
All problems, real problems, and it is the Spanish champion Izaguirre. Change of wheel. Jose Joaquim Rojas giving him the wheel. Jon Izaguirre is the Spanish champion there, and a guy that would be hoping to finish fairly high up. Not perhaps realistic that he can win Paris-Nice. However, he's a strong rider. He is one of those protected riders in the Movistar team, and he's been handed his wheel by Jose Joaquim Rojas. Not great timing again. Poor timing mechanically. Peloton making their way up to the top of the climb. That's already been crested by Tom de Gendt, who again took the points, this time on the third category climb, so 4 more points to add to his lead. And Chris Anker Sorensen. One minute 20, 25 k's to go. And Philippe Gilbert again wrapping up and taking that extra point that was on offer. They all count. He'll do the sums, I'm sure, tonight and see where he lies. The next couple of days we'll decide to see if he can go and defend the jersey. He's already said that now he's up there, he might as well have a go at defending it. De Gendt with 4, Sorensen 2, Gilbert taking 1 after the Côte de la Croix Blanche. Lagerveld in the meantime on the front, the Dutch champion. One minute 15 continues to go down. So Sean, one descent, intermediate sprint, first category climb. The race has already been split up dramatically. We're surely in for a big aggressive finale here now.
Yes, well, it's been very aggressive already for a long time now, and a lot of teams getting involved. It's looking good for the final climb. We will definitely see again, you know, all the teams trying to keep their men in a good position as we get into the final climb. As we come through the town of Saint-Chamond, it will be, you know, a big battle for positions, and then onto the final climb of 10 kilometers. When it starts early, which it has, you know, it started 50 kilometers out back in the peloton, and it's definitely going to be a big battle on this final climb because the teams are very aggressive very early.
Very aggressive, very early. Heinrich Hausler still at the back, but on the main group, at least for now. Simon Yates. He'll be a man who would have been hoping to be up there today. The original plan, I think, for Orica Green Edge was to protect Simon Yates for today. However, of course, having the yellow jersey, it means that most of the attention in the team is diverted to honouring it. 1 minute and 10. 23.8 k's to go. Okay. The thing that could help Michael Mathews here, if there's a lot of looking around at the start of this climb, first 3-4 kilometers, if everybody keeps their powder dry, nobody does indeed drill it as they go into the climb, that would help him, wouldn't it?
Well, I think for a rider like Michael Mathews, you know, he's a good all-rounder. He can get up climbs quite well, and if they go a little bit slower in the first 2 kilometers of the climb, he gets into the rhythm. And for a guy who's a sprinter, if you're given that opportunity, well, then it's very hard to get rid of him. But if you attack the climb really in the beginning, the first kick up, that's when you can put him in a little bit more difficulty. So if there's a team who really sprint into the bottom of the climb, I don't think that would be the best thing for Michael Mathews. But that's what we'll have to wait and see, because it's a long climb, 10 kilometers. They might be really holding off within the teams. But and the same goes for a lot of other riders as well, of course. If they do really go full on at the bottom, well, then there will be many other riders also having difficulty staying with the pace.
Fast day compared to what we've had so far this week. Some real racing here on Paris-Nice. 22.7 kilometers to go. One minute and 5, 22.5 to go. On the descent all the way to Saint-Chamond. Intermediate sprint coming up with 16.5 k's to go. And then we get the first little ramps of this climb, not the classified part of the climb. That starts with 10.5 kilometers to go. It's a first category climb today to Croix de Chauboret. A minute is the gap. Doesn't look like it's going to last very long, this break now.
It should not last too long, because I think everyone will be getting very nervous on the front of the bunch, and this pace will just go faster and faster as we come to, to the final climb of the day. And I think, out front they have been riding very strong, extremely strong. De Gendt and Sorensen, they put up a great battle, still holding at a minute there, and they have been holding the peloton off. Considering the way the peloton are riding, they've been holding off very well.
exceptionally well. It's been a really, really combative, strong ride from Tom de Gent and Chris Sorensen. Good to watch after a few slow days this week on Paris-Nice. 20 kilometers to go. And we've seen Etixx Quick Step, the team of the leader. Here is the world champion back with the rainbow bands on today, as he's no longer the leader of Paris-Nice. And Michal Kwiatkoswki. And Kwiatkoswki at just 1 second, remember. Depends how he goes on the climb today. One of those riders who will have something left in his legs for the time trial. On our way down to that intermediate sprint, then after that it's the climb. It's the grand finale of this stage 4 of Paris-Nice coming up. We're going to take one final commercial break in just a minute's time. When we come back though, we'll have all the action. Fireworks expected. Lots of thin roads, a few bits of road furniture leading up to the start of the climb. It's going to have to be strung out. It's going to be lined out like this. Riders and teams attempting to put their main men in position to take the stage, and with the differences that might be around, perhaps yellow jersey as well today. Can Michael Mathews hang on? It would be one of the big achievements if he could, as we see problems for one of the Cannondale riders. We'll check out if that indeed was Andrew Talansky whilst we're away at the break. Join us again in just a minute. It was indeed Andrew Talansky who had a puncture. Off to Saint-Chamond, Talansky being led back to the peloton. He was helped out by Sebastian Lagerfeld, who gave him a wheel. Still Etixx Quick Step on the front. The gap's gone down to 40 seconds as we're approaching the intermediate sprint in just 500 meters time for those out in front. The pace is on, the excitement is up. It's Sorensen, it's de Gent, they're already looking behind. We said it wasn't going to Longchamp at all, and the way they're racing, well, waiting fireworks for the first time this season.
Well, they can feel the group coming. The big peloton is going to swallow them up very, very quickly. Thomas de Gent, he's done a magnificent ride today, as Sorensen has, and de Gent is coming away with the polka dot jersey. He's taking a big advantage over Philippe Gilbert, but we could see Gilbert any point there. He could pick up some points. He's doing it, so he's still interested in that. In the days to come, that is going to be a battle between the two Belgians.
So there is the intermediate sprint taken by Chris Sorensen. Just behind him, Tom de Gent. 40 seconds is the gap, and here comes Philippe Gilbert again. Philippe Gilbert wants bonus second this time. It's a combative, good race for Philippe Gilbert. So sprint out the way. Gilbert wraps up the points, and we're off to Kwiatkoswki now. And about the Kwiatkoswki, we managed to speak with Andy Flickinger as Talansky's trying to get back on. Let's go and hear what he had to say about the climb. Here's Andy Flickinger. Oh, really difficult stage today. Probably the queen stage of this Paris-Nice, I think. The last 80 kilometers really tortuous avec many little climbs. So it's going to be difficult. Finishing climbs tricky. More 15 kilometers really than the expected classified 10Ks. It's pretty regular and constant uphill, but don't forget we're at the start of the season. There'll be gaps at the end. Sean, some people saying they're going to be big gaps. Other people with a different view saying it's going to be closer. The way it's raced today, going into this climb, I'd suspect that it's more the former, with bigger gaps than some people might have thought today.
Well, it's looking very like it's going to be a big battle here, and but when we get onto the climb, sometimes, you know, teams have a strategy, a tactic, and when they get a good position in the beginning of the climb, they just wait and start looking at other teams, and then you can have, you know, a lot of that tactics being played. And if that's the case, well, then we could, you know, not see the race being as fast as we'd like it to be in the first 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers of the climb. And if that does happen, well, then we might not see as big as gaps as we would be expecting.
Work for Andrew Talansky. Worst moment out of mechanical possible. He's back, but he's had to work hard with his teammates to get back onto the peloton. 25 seconds with BMC at the back, and of course Alaphilippe doing his job for Etixx Quick Step. Sanchez at the front as well for Astana. Still 20 seconds for the Ghent and Sorensen. .2 Ks to go. Classified climb is 10 kilometers, but the road rises all the way really from here, doesn't it, Sean?
Yes, it does. As we can see here, as they're coming through Chamonix, Saint-Chamond, sorry, it does kick up a little bit, but again, we can see here there's a little bit of a calm before the storm, hopefully.
And just up here, up the road, we saw a guy repairing potholes this morning as well. So it's been last-minute preparation around here for Paris-Nice. Thin roads these as well, very, very narrow to the top. And when we get to the base of the last 10 kilometers, the really, really narrow bridge, isn't there? And a couple of very, very quick changes of direction that are going to mean that you're going to have to be at the front, and it's going to have to be some really, really organised riding from your team to put you in the right position at the start of the climb.
Well, that is going to be nervous time. When you come over the bridge, it kicks up immediately, and that is the most difficult part of the climb, I think, the first number of kilometres. And always to get onto a climb, until you get the first 2 kilometres done, to get into the rhythm, it's difficult, as we can see our two men out here congratulating each other, and a good day's work, and a strong performance, because to stay out there this length, considering the way the peloton have been going for a long, long time in this stage, they have done a great performance.
Sky making their presence felt already on the left-hand side. Pace being set as by Azure de Zella Mondial. Etixx Quick Step as well. Michael Mathews still in the first 15 to 20 riders to look out for that yellow jersey of his Orica Green Edge team and the race leader. Richie Port being brought into position. Astana, where is Fabio Aru? Which team is going to be the team to take responsibility early on? Who is going to implement their plan? Dom de Ghent, after that backslapping exercise with Chris Anker Sorensen. Both of them reeled in by the peloton. 13.2 Ks away from John Degenkolb. Hasn't managed to get his stage win yet this week. I think he can maybe think about tomorrow. He's one of the sprinters that might be able to make it, but again, depends on how things are going to be raced. 1:15 there is Bram Tankink being dropped. And of course, 1:52 Julien Alaphilippe, who we saw on the front of the peloton not so long ago. Rowan Dennis. We wondered what sort of state he would be in this week. The response is there, not a very good one.
No, surprising, big surprise to see him losing contact at this point, before ever we get on to the serious part of the climb. Surprising that he's back in this area.
World hour record man, Rowan Dennis. This is the Australian champion, Rowan Dennis's compatriot, Heinrich Hausler, smiling away for the cameras. Hung onto the glass climb, which will make making that time cut a lot easier. And Dyer Quintana to the front as well for Movistar. Nairo Quintana's younger brother. Dyer Quintana in there, racing in a World Tour race on European roads for the first time. Riding for Movistar. It's all about Kwiatkoswki here. Tony Martin just behind Kwiatkoswki, and if Tony Martin has good legs today, it could be a real strong ally for the most part of this climb. It's the sort of climb that he can deal with for quite a while, Tony Martin, with its constant gradient. It all depends on the legs. What does TJ van Garderen have in his locker? Rather like Fabio Aru, we've hardly seen TJ van Garderen this week, and he's been waiting and waiting and waiting. He was second in the mountain stage in Oman, as we see the barrage de Soulage. On the right-hand side, as we approach the dam there. We'll go around it, across the bridge later on, and the climb is to the left-hand side of your picture. 12.2 Ks to go. Paris-Nice Stage 4. Kwiatkoswki, former leader of this race, at just 1 second. He is second at the minute. Michael Mathews taking the lead courtesy of bonus seconds yesterday. Can he keep the yellow jersey today? So Leger finished by the G last year at the finish stage at Rive de G. Christian Kney has dropped for Sky. Former German champion goes. Back of the race as we look at it. And it's going to be a constant stream of riders who have done a lot of work early on in the day, who aren't going to be able to keep up the pace if that pace continues to be up. Etixx Quick Step doing a decent job for the minute. Sky still towards the front though. They have their men there. Richie Port easy to spot right in the middle of that three-man train. 10.9 Ks to go. So we're coming up to that bridge now, Sean. We're coming up to 10 Ks to go. And again, you can just see that the pace is upped again after the last couple of kilometres has been a little slower when they were all put together.
It is going to be upped, and you know, you can imagine now, rider there, the team directors are all saying, okay guys, we're coming to that point, that narrow bridge just before the start of the climb. You have to keep in the top 10, 15, and that's what we're seeing here on the front of the bunch. You know, it's up, the pace has been upped, and the peloton is starting to stretch out. And as we've mentioned a number of times already today, if there's a team that really pushes on in the first kilometre, well then this peloton will explode totally.
Rafał Majka in the front group, then at the back. 107 there is David Tanner still hanging on as well. 32 is Eros Capecchi, the Italian former Giro stage winner when he was back in his liquid gas days. Etixx Quick Step, Sky, Française des Jeux, Ulrika Green Edge, BMC and Astana, all with men at the front. Climb proper is beginning. 10.3 Ks to go. Here comes the big left-hand turn. Across the bridge we go. And it goes up and up and up. 10 kilometres at 6.7%. The first ramps are quite hard. The ramps at the end are quite hard. In the middle, it does get a little progressively easier. But as we go across this bridge now, narrower roads, a couple of hairpins in the start of it. It's a beautiful climb, really, isn't it, Sean, as we drove up it this morning?
Yeah, it's a nice climb. The road is quite big, good surface, but there is a percentage here, and we're about to come onto it at this moment.
So, on to the Croix de Chauboret. Oh, we've had a crash. We've had a crash. It is the Portuguese champion Oliveira who's down. Rider from Giant Alpecin as well. Warren Balghi, one of the men we're expected to watch today, down. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Just missing that was Benyat and Chalsti at the back. Oliveira's got caught up in it, and one of the riders from Katusha as well. We wait to see who's it. That's not Simon Spilak, is it? It's 166 there. Igor Shilin, who's doing a lot of work the other day. Warren Balghi, I'm afraid, is out of this one. And he's a guy that we've been talking about all week, Sean, and one of the men that on his day could have done it today.
Yes, could have been up there. Just fighting for positions, and you know, everybody pushing on the limit and touching each other, getting tangled, and down they go.
I think we're going to struggle to see Warren Balghi again. He's not in a good place there. He's just been asked to see if he's going to be good enough to finish. The medical car will come and have a look at him first. In the meantime, the pace is up here. The pace is up with HDTV à la Mondiale. Michal Goash has been distanced at the back. And Rafał Majka is out the back. Rafał Majka out the back, so it's not going to be his day. First big casualty alongside Warren Balghi of this climb, and we're only 600 metres into it. We were promised action, and we're getting it. Not all of the best kind, I'm afraid, with that nasty, nasty fall for Warren Balghi. 9.3 Ks remain. Yellow jersey Still nicely tucked in there in 5th place. And this peloton has been dramatically reduced. Some of the directors sportifs before today were saying, well, we might get a group of 30 riders coming up here. At the minute, Sean, I can't see that.
Well, as we can see here, it's just AG2R setting the pace here. You know, nothing real big pace being put in here, and a lot of riders getting settled into the climb. And if you get settled into the climb the first 2 kilometers, well, then there's a lot of riders can hold on, unless there's a team who really have a tactic here. Well, they will just up the pace big time, and at that at that point, then we will see a lot of splits. But otherwise, we could see quite a good group of riders coming into the final kilometre.
We shall see how it goes, and if that happens, and if we get a group of riders into the final kilometres, Ben Gastar, who's been doing all that work on the front for HDTV, is distanced. We may see Michael Mathews holding on. There's Michal Coquard, who are hearing that he had been distanced out the back. And here Paolo Tiralongo. Astana there again, Tiralongo 50 seconds back on the general classification as we see Rafael Majka. 42 there is Lars Bohm going past Rafael Majka, and he has something to say for him as well. No expression, no response. So here goes Paolo Tiralongo. Wins before, of course, most notably in the Giro d'Italia. So Majka out of condition dropped as we go through La Valin-Angers. This was an interesting section of the road. You want to ride on the right, the left here, Sean, because in the centre you've got potholes, you've got a few little cobbles and everything. It's not particularly nice, is it, for the next kilometre?
No, it's through the centre of town. There's a lot of little section of cobbles, also the cobbles section up the middle. As we can see, the riders are trying to stay out of that, but it's okay. Dry conditions, I don't think it'll cause a problem. We can see the bunch are still just working away with Tiralongo out front. It's Sky, I think, was setting the pace there, but no great panic from anybody back in peloton for the moment.
Still 8 kilometres to go. Still Philippe Gilbert, number 53, alongside him Sylvain Divier. Divier's been dropped. Sky rider Ben Swift, as well as the work by Lars Peder Nordhaug, just to reel in. Paolo Tiralongo is being put together rather nicely. Nicholas Roach, second wheel, the former Irish champion, former HDTV and Tinkoff rider. About 30 metres or so at the minute for Paolo Tiralongo. Astana, BMC, Sky at the front. Ricochet's not too far behind. I wonder how Rafa Wiles is going as well. Winner of the Tour of Oman as well. On the right-hand side is Lars Peder Nordhaug. And this is Michael Mathews, the last man to do the work, really, for Jean-Christophe Perrault and Romain Bardet. And Michael Mathews, we had a couple of little arguments with Philippe Gilbert at the top of the last couple of climbs as well. He's riding at his own pace inside the last 7.4 Ks. Tiralongo looks as though he's going to be reeled in. And Tiralongo's attack just reducing that group by another 5 to 10 riders.
Yes, it's eliminated a couple of riders out of the peloton, what's left of the peloton here. But we can see here, Astana, they have 3 riders in the weight here, so there's certainly going to be an attack from one of the other ones here. I think this was just to try and up the pace by Tiralongo, make it a bit difficult, because when you look at Astana, they have quite a few riders who should be here in the shake-up for the stage victory, and also they're up in the general classification.
Well, Jakob Fuglsang, Luis Leon Sanchez, Ryan Taramai, Fabio Aru, as we see number 76, Georg Peidler, from his excellent performance that you and I watched at the Giro d'Italia last year. He is also dropped on the climb. Rider from Lampre, Merida, struggling as well there. Ryan Taramai, we're hearing, is in difficulty as well. So perhaps not one of those Astana riders to challenge in the end. Winner of the course of the Vuelta a Murcia this year, early on. Big win for the Estonian rider. And it's Sky now who reel back Tiralongo, and with Lars Peder Nordhaug They have some riders in a perfect position to put Richie Porte into the job. There is confirmation of what we're talking about. Ryan Taramai struggling, and that's a big surprise considering the form he was in last month.
Yes, it is a surprise. You know, this sort of climb, I would expect him to be able to stay up there, and looking that he had form already this season, surprising to see him lose contact, considering there's 50 plus riders here in this group.
Oh, problems for Bob Jungels. He's been out to take bonus seconds this week. He's been trying his level best to be a leader for the first real time in a big race, but he is in trouble here with 6.4 kilometers to go. Sky with Lars Petter Nordhaug, Nicholas Roach, Geraint Thomas and Richie Porte up there. Fabio Aru, second wheel at the minute for Astana. He has Luis Leon Sanchez a little further back. Just in front of him, that's Jakob Fuglsang. And for Bob Jungels, it's looking very difficult, Sean.
Yes, well, if you're starting to get into difficulty at this point, very, very hard to see him, you know, holding on to the tail end of this group. He's going to, you know, I think take a big time packet today.
Average grading in this particular kilometre, 6.7%. Biggest average is in the fourth to last kilometre, 7.5%. This is the former Norwegian champion right back at Sky after a few years, or after a year or two away, pardon me, in Belkin. Oh, and here we go with Michael Mathews. He's slipping towards the back of the peloton. And this is a big moment in the race here. Can he hang in? Can he hold on? Or is it going to be just a little too much for him, Sean?
I think it's going to be too much when he's suffering at this point, still with just over 6 kilometers to go. You know, there's going to be a lot more attacks put in here, and very hard to recover. And, you know, we did talk about that. Very little racing done by Michael Mathews. Today was going to be the test, and starting to suffer quite early.
He has company with him for the ride-in Simon Clark, who's going to try and look after him, but Michael Mathews looks as though he's cracking here. The yellow jersey will change hands today. And that's it. That is it for Michael Mathews. It's been a valiant effort up to now. We thought that this would be no Monte Cassino. This is longer, this is difficult. And we're seeing Sky with Lars Petter Nordhaug at the front of a four-man train. The world champion's still there at the minute. Virtual yellow jersey here is Michal Kwiatkoswki. But of course it can all change towards the end. TJ Van Garden's still up there. Problems for Jan Bakelants. Belgian rider who's transferred over to Agir de Zella Mondial. Jan Bakelants also struggling to hack the pace, which is upped considerably. Now we're wondering about Fabio Aru, Sean. He's right up there at the front still. He had Jakob Fuglsang with him. For the moment, all is going okay. Here they come around the corner. Sky with 4 riders still though. Remember, hashtag Home of Cycling. Who's going to do it today? We want to hear from you as ever here on the Home of Cycling. Just over 5Ks to go. Still Sky, still Tony Martin in there as well, just behind them. Ben Herman's doing a good job, as is Michael Scher. Haven't seen much of Wilco Kelderman today. Just having a look for those Lotto NL Jumbo jerseys. A couple of them in there. Kelderman right in the centre of them. Movistar as well. What can they pull off today? Quintana still there. Dyer Quintana, that is. They've still got 4 riders in there as well. Fernandez still there. As is Rafa Valls, right towards the back of this group. 162 there is Sergei Chernetsky. Thiago Machado as well towards the back. Yuri Trofimov as well. Simon Spilak too.
Simon Yates just there in the back also.
Yates on the right-hand side with the dark blue, white and green. The young British rider who is so good in the Tour de France. Paolo Tiralongo still at the back. Still in that group. And here comes Simon Spilak on the left-hand side. And the order for Sky remains Nordhaug, Roach, Thomas, Port. Looking good. So that's it for Nordhaug. Time for Nicholas Roach, and it looks as though this is going to be the tactic from Sky, try to shed bodies all the way through. It's what we've seen them do throughout the last few years, Sean, to a lesser extent last year, but with the signings they've made throughout the winter, the return of Nordhaug, the signing of Roach, plethora of other names up there who aren't here today, likes of Koenig, the likes of Pools as well. It's really strengthened their card, hasn't it?
Yes, well, when you look at the list of riders within the Sky team, you know, very strong, and you know, Nordhaug did a brilliant job there, set the pace for a long time. Nobody even tried to attack, and that is the indicator. That tells you how fast it's going. Tia Longo was the one who we did see, the only one who was attacked, and other than that, everybody is following because the pace is very, very high. And now it's Nicholas Roach who is setting the pace, and Richie Port, you know, he likes that, a good, strong, steady pace. He doesn't like the attacking and then the slowing down and the attacking once again, and that's the reason the Sky riders are doing this very strong pace setting.
Rikoshta's still in there, Tim Whelan's still there as well, Kwiatkoswki as well in the rainbow jersey. Tiralongo off the back. So who's the man that Sean was talking about who attacked, the only man to attack so far on this climb really? He forced the extra pace. Sky then took it up after him, and here they are right at the front with Nicholas Roach. Irish rider, former Irish champion, of course. You can see that Irish flag on his sleeve. Sounds as though Tony Martin is struggling at the back as well. And there he is, Tony Martin off the back. 4Ks to go, so Kwiatkoswki at the minute on his own, I think. Have to double check that when we get another look at the group at the front. Only Tony Martin was around Michal Kwiatkoswki. As we look up to the peloton, 4 kilometers to go now. A BMC jersey off the back. A BMC jersey off the back. 55 is Ben Hermans. So good at the Tour of Oman for TJ van Garderen. He is struggling as well. Same case can be said for the man from Europe car, Romain Sicard, the Basque climber of French nationality. And here comes Nicholas Roach. Nicholas Roach still putting it on. Tom Jelteslagte distanced at the back, as is Quintana. Dyer Quintana, remember. So Tom Jelteslagte, another of those who we wondered how his form would be coming into today. Quintana in his first real climb, first summit finish, working as a domestique. And this is Nicholas Roach, still the same situation, Sean. Bodies going out the back, nobody dares to attack here.
No, and we can see the just riders slipping out the back of this group, and Roach continuing on to set the pace, and it tells the pace he's setting. It's hard to, you know, calculate how fast he is going, but when you see riders losing contact, that tells the pace is quite strong and putting a lot of riders in difficulty.
Amel Moinard, the latest drop off the back, the BMC rider. A few of you asking on Twitter, where is Wiggo? Well, Brad Wiggins in the Gruppetto since it was formed very, very early on today. He's been on the back since the early part of our television coverage. For Sky, if you're wondering, it's Roach, it's Thomas, it's Port. You've got Fabio Aru, second wheel there on the blue jersey. Jakob Fulsang there. And the rider with his jersey open, it is Simon Spilak. We're hearing that Simon Yates, who has been dropped as well. Ricardo Zeudel, the Austrian champion distance. Andrew Talansky struggling as well, as was Wilco Keldum at the back of that group. Nicholas Roach doing some serious damage here with 3Ks to go. And the group reducing and reducing. There is Zoidl at the back. There is Talansky, both fighting desperately to try and stay in touch with this group. And here goes Geraint Thomas. Geraint Thomas to attack. It's going to be Simon Spilak alongside Jakob Fuglsang to try and chase this one down now. We wondered when the action would come, and this, Sean, is the first real attack towards the latter part of this climb.
Yes, this is going to put a lot of riders in difficulty, because that sudden acceleration, open pace, it's going to put a lot of riders in difficulty. Roach was doing a very good job. Geraint Thomas, we can see here, putting in a real strong move.
And he can thank Nicholas Roach for the work he's done. Roach's reward will be to ride in and listen to race radio to see what the result of that attack is. So Fuglsang takes it up at the front. Fuglsang, the Danish rider for Astana. Looking very, very strong at the front. Rikosh's been up there. We've seen Spilak come back, and now time to respond. Time to respond in Movistar colours. Difficult to see exactly which ride it was. Was that Fernandez? It is Ruben Fernandez. Ruben Fernandez. Ruben Fernandez then counter-attacking. It's Fuglsang, Thomas, Spilak, who's just about to try and put that little elephant in to get onto the wheel. Response as well from BMC, and it's TJ van Garderen. TJ van Garderen going to on the attack. And if you want to be involved, now is the time to bridge the gap. 2.3 Ks to go. Both Bals and Rui Costa for Lamprimerida in there. And here goes Richie Porte now. Richie Porte wants to be involved too, and he's being followed. He's being followed by Romain Bardet. Romain Bardet for AG2R La Mondiale with 2.2 kilometers to go, alongside Ruben Fernandez trying to counter-attack as well. We've got TJ van Garderen. Oh, and Fernandez is down. Oh, what a silly, silly crash that is. Ruben Fernandez, TJ van Garderen, nobody else around them. Here we go. Look around, look around. Oh, it's his first year on the World Tour. Ruben Fernandez, guilty of not concentrating. TJ van Garderen will be thankful that he managed to stay on his bike. But van Garderen is being caught, and we're down to now just single digits almost of riders who can play this one out. Richie Porte right on the wheel of TJ van Garderen. On his wheel, still sticking in there. This is really good from Michal Kwiatkoswki as well, Sean.
Yes, Kwiatkoswki is following, didn't panic, but the question is he just a little bit in difficulty and not able to attack? But he did not make any move on those attacks, just following the rest for the moment. But he's the one who can put in a big finish in the final kilometre.
Sylvain Chavanel losing a bit of pace as well. It's Geraint Thomas here. Jakob Fuglsang behind him, the Danish rider in the light blue for Astana, the team from Kazakhstan. Behind, TJ van Garderen on his own in that red and black jersey. 1-2-8 there as we look at this is Tim Wellens. There is Jean-Christophe Perrault. Sounds as though Fabio Aru and Rafa Wiles are struggling. Haven't got images of that, but race radio screaming in our ears. And we can see that. It is Geraint Thomas at the front, Jakob Fuglsang behind, Simon Spilak. Well, there's a chance they might be able to put some distance in here. A lot of waiting, a lot of looking around, Sean.
Yes, we can see there there's a little bit of marking, and for the moment, you know, the three out front, 8, maybe 10 seconds of an advantage is Kwiatkoswki, who starts to take up the pulling.
He wants the yellow jersey back. Kwiatkoswki wants the yellow jersey back. He is just at 1 second from Michael Mathews. Of course, Geraint Thomas is a real danger to the jersey as well. There's not very many at all seconds in this, as we see Gorka Izagirre still in this group. Remember, Ruben Fernandez has hit the deck. It's Michal Kwiatkoswki. Michal Kwiatkoswki still going in there. Rafa Wiles and Rui Costa have managed to hold into that second chasing group. Kwiatkoswki trying once and for all to close the gap. Richie Porte is following him. Sky tactically probably the strongest in here. And Fabio Aru has also managed to make that he's worked into this chasing group as well. Rafa Wiles, the most advanced of the two riders from Lamprimerida, and here we go. Counter-attack time from Lamprimerida as well. Making sure that they're front this chasing group. 1.2 Ks to go. What's going to happen here, Sean? Are they going to hold on, these three?
Well, I think Richie Porte is, feeling strong, but he has Geraint Thomas in front, of course. We can see he's putting in another attack here, but he doesn't want to carry everybody across because, it's a danger one. But now they have a gap with Kwiatkoswki in his wheel. Looks like he wants to really go and get this stage.
TJ Van Garderen chasing as they go under the Flamme Rouge. Fabio Aru's held on brilliantly for his first mounted day in the season as well. Spilak is still down. Here goes Richie Porte. This was the plan all the way along, I think. Richie Porte to attack. Does he have what he had on Wollonga Hill at the Tour Down Under? Does he have what he had when he won the Australian Time Trial Championship early in the year? Richie Porte really putting in a dig, and it's his teammate who can follow him here. Richie Porte and Geraint Thomas riding away from the competition on the Kwiatkoswki. This is a wonderful piece of riding from Team Sky, and it's Richie Porte really giving it his all at the minute as they're into the final 500 metres. Thomas on his wheel, Fuglsang trying his best to close the gap, but it's such a difficult task with this Porte. Porte is on fire here. Rapavals is the second of the two Lamprimerida riders on the road. Number 31 there is Gorka Aguirre, but this is the Australian, this is Porte, and this, Sean, is a magnificent move.
Yes, well, Porte, he came from, a little bit further down, joined that group of Geraint Thomas, and immediately when he got across them, took up the pace section. He's the one who has been doing the riding, but Geraint Thomas also, the two Sky men, really the strongest in this final.
Porte, the Australian Time Trial champion, a winner on Wollonga Hill in the Tour Down Under. Geraint Thomas, the winner of the Tour of the Algarve. Riders trying their best to close that gap. 300 metres to go, but it looks as though they're pulling out, if anything. A look behind from Richie Porte. What do they have here? Certainly one of them's going to take the yellow jersey. One of them is going to take the stage win. Richie Porte riding ahead. Geraint Thomas sticking on his wheel. And Jakob Fuglsang doing his best to try and cut down the gap. A counter-attack too from Michal Kwiatkoswki, who is the world champion, of course, but it's Richie Porte who's going to ride in here. Richie Porte and Geraint Thomas. Porte up towards the flat section for the final 25 seconds. Porte is there. Thomas on his wheel. Wonderful reception from the crowd at the top. Porte rides over. He takes the win. Thomas second. They both punch the air, and the count back to the world champion begins. 8 seconds to Kwiatkoswki, 8 seconds to Fuglsang, and Richie Porte wins the stage. 5th place is going to be TJ Van Garderen, again strong in the mountains. Average speed today 38.4 kilometers per hour. Rui Costa rides in. Wellens on his wheel. Aru is there, as is Rapavals, Simon Spilak, and at 30 seconds Romain Bardet. It is a big day, a day where we're all out of breath, none more so than Richie Porte, who is really back to his best. We wondered all week, Sean Kelly, what the state of play would be with Richie Porte. He's shown here that he really is back to what we thought he would be last year.
Yes, well, he was very impressive, super strong on that climb, and he had Geraint Thomas out in front with two other riders, and he was the one who put in a good few attacks, but he was marked on a number of times. If he had managed to get away a bit further out, well, then the time gap would be much bigger. But we see Kwiatkoswki, Fuglsang at 8 seconds, but what a ride by the two Sky riders.
What a ride indeed. Richie Porte is up there. Sylvain Chavanel making its way in, 1 minute and 24 seconds down. Wilco Kelderman coming across the line, and amongst all that we had the rookie's error from Ruben Fernandez. Who knows what might have been. He put in a great ride too, but tactically and physically, these two, the top men on the day. Porte to take the win, right on his wheel, his teammate Geraint Thomas. A Team Sky exhibition on the top of the Kwiatkoswki. And on Phil Anderson's 57th birthday, it's another Australian, Richie Porte, who shines in France. A pat on the back for each of them. Thomas and Porte, super strong today for Sky. As well, the work that was done earlier on by Lars Petter Nordhaug and this man, Nicholas Roach. I said he'd have an interesting few kilometres listening to the race radio, and I think by the way it finished, Sean, there'd have been some shouting and screaming inside that car today.
Yes, well, of course, when you have the two men down out in front there, and what a performance by the two men, as we can see. The stage victory going to Port, of course, but also the general classification, it should be Port leading from Geraint Thomas.
It should be Port leading from Geraint Thomas. We shall see. Port, Thomas, Kwiatkoswki, Fuglsang, van Garderen, Costa, Galopin, Aru, Vals and Spilak. At the minute, they're actually telling us that Michal Kwiatkoswki is going to be back in yellow. We await confirmation of that. But it is in fact victory on the day for Richie Port, Geraint Thomas. Sums being done again. Kwiatkoswki in yellow?
Yes, it would be Kwiatkoswki. I was looking at TJ Van Garderen actually. I was mistaking that for 18 seconds for Kwiatkoswki, but he was at 8 seconds with Fuglsang, so it looks like Kwiatkoswki will hold on to yellow jersey.
So a great ride from him as well, the world champion, combative throughout. It's not his own natural terrain, the high mountain, of course, not to be with the top guys on the planet. However, he's put in a fantastic ride. He is in yellow. Michal Kwiatkoswki could end up winning Paris-Nice. So it's been a brilliant stage, and with the time trial still to come, a couple of lumpy days. Kwiatkoswki still in pole position, but this race is open. This race could have any number of winners coming into Sunday, Sean.
Well, it is going to be a difficult one, Kwiatkoswki. When you see the two Sky Riders, the way they performed in the final, that one, they are going to be real difficult ones to manage.
Well, on what is a beautiful, beautiful day, we've seen Richie Port move to within 1 single second of Michal Kwiatkoswki. Geraint Thomas is 3 away. TJ Van Garderen in 4th at 27. Fuglsang in 5th after a really gallant ride from him, 32 back. Galopin, Costa, Izaguirre, Machado and Rafa Vals all within the top 10. A deluxe top 10 at Paris-Nice. Kwiatkoswki with a superb ride, a combative and defensive ride on the way up. But Port and Thomas with the exhibition today. 3 men very, very close to fight it out over the next 3 days for Paris-Nice. Top of the tree today, Kwiatkoswki, he wears yellow, stage victory. It's a Sky 1-2, Richie Port, followed by Geraint Thomas. This is the moment that Richie Port and Geraint Thomas crossed the line. We had them riders off the wheel on the way up, Nicholas Roach and Lars Peder Nordhaug. Thomas and Port playing the big cards. Tomorrow you can see how they get on stage 5 to Rasteau, Eurosport 2 International. If you're watching on British, remember to check your schedules and your channel, of course. 2 o'clock Central European time if you're watching in continental Europe. Tirreno Adriatico is also on 2:30 Eurosport 1 International. That is coming up tomorrow. And of course, if you're watching now on British Eurosport, you can turn over to watch the end of the stage. Riders still coming in, Lars Peder Nordhaug as well. 6 minutes down, and they'll continue to roll in. It's been a powerful day today, an epic day on Paris-Nice. We've seen some brilliant riding, we've seen plenty of ups and downs, riders getting distanced early on, but it was an exhibition from Team Sky in the end. Richie Port and Geraint Thomas with a 1-2. Nicholas Roach further down the climb doing his bit. Lars Peder Nordhaug as well. A superb team performance, and it's one that sees them move to within 1 3 seconds of the overall. Michal Kwiatkoswki wears yellow though. Join us tomorrow from Sean and myself. It's goodbye.